So today's webinar is on QuickBooks Point of Sale Physical Inventory. We will go over everything that you need to know to conduct a physical inventory, including the prep. Today's webinar will be recorded, so if you miss any parts or you need to cut out early, know that you will receive an email with a link to view that recording, so you don't necessarily need to miss out. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and ask the questions as they pop into your head. I'd rather answer them while they're fresh in your mind than you miss out on asking a question because you can't remember at the very end what you wanted to know. Like I said, I will try to keep an eye on when the hand raises and lets me know that there is a question. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about physical inventory. So probably the best physical inventories that I've ever been involved with have always been physical inventories where there's a lot of prep and a lot of groundwork laid down ahead of time. So depending on when you're doing your physical will depend on, how much time you have to prep for it from today on. Now, one of the first things that we want you to do is to create a zone map or create a map of your store. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Circles and squares and rectangles work perfectly fine. We're not looking for a Picasso or anything. But that map is going to help you keep track of what you have counted versus what you haven't counted. So when you draw the map of your store, put zone names or zone numbers on each little section that you're going to count. And usually a good section is no more than 200 different SKUs. That's not quantity, but different SKUs. I usually tell people common sense breaking points are the most common and the easiest to follow. So if you have a rounder rack, that rounder rack is a good section. Start at the smallest size, work your way around until you get back to that smallest size. If you have a table with sweaters or t-shirts or something like that on there, that table is a good section. Keep in mind the items that you might have underneath that table as well. Include those in the section as well, or make them their own separate section. Shelf units, if they go the full length of your store, break them apart. That entire wall is too much for one section. So use very common sense starting and breaking points, and nobody should have too much of a problem with it. Now, the day before the day of your physical, if you own your own scanners, you can do this at any point, but if you're renting scanners from us, you do want to test the scanner. So the easiest way to test the scanner is to turn on the scanner and enter in a couple of items that that have barcodes on them, your barcodes on them, and go here to inventory and then start physical inventory. So as soon as this opens up, well, that's not good. My QuickBooks doesn't usually lock up on me, but of course now it's going to because everybody's watching. There we go. Okay, so up here under the I want to, you'll notice there is, if you've plugged in a scanner, you can go down to the add counts from scanner and follow the screens. It'll tell you very clearly what you need to do, and there will be a test option there. So that's the way that you can test your scanner. Now, once you've tested it and it downloads fine, you will want to close out of this and not save and continue. Make sure that you do not press the save button because whatever you just tested in the download will be saved in there and part of your physical. So it's very critical that when you're testing your scanner, you do not save it in any way, shape, or form on the computer. Just simply close out of the tool and you'll be back at your regular QuickBooks. Now, the day of the physical, everybody's there bright and shiny and ready to go, all excited about the physical inventory, I'm sure. So what we want you to do before you ever start counting your inventory, there's two things that we want you to do first and foremost. First, we want you to make a backup of your data. So we want to take a snapshot and a backup of where all of your inventory quantities are before you start going in and counting everything. So to do that, you're going to go to File up here at the top and then to Backup Data. Okay, now you can back it up to the default location that it always backs up to, or you can back it up to an alternative location and basically tell it where you want to put it. So if that's the desktop, then that's the desktop. If it's a particular place that you want to, you know you're going to go looking for it, you can choose that as well. Okay, so you want to make sure that you do a backup and let it fully run through. Okay, so my backup has been made. I'm going to go ahead and finish that. So now I know that if everything should go wrong during the physical inventory and if anything gets messed up, I know that I can get back to where I was before I started counting everything. It's always a good idea before you do anything major in QuickBooks that you do a backup first. Now, once you have your backup done, we want you to go into Reports and then into Items. Now, some of you may get into Reports through a different method using the Reports button over here or over here. I tend to use the one up along the top. That's just my preference. But ultimately, what you're wanting to get into is into an item list. Okay, and this is going to show you every item that you have on hand or that you have in the system, whether or not you have a quantity or not, and then what that item cost and retails for. Now, I generally recommend send this to Excel if you have an Excel spreadsheet, because this is a very long report. Consider that every item in your inventory is going to show up on this report, every line item. So if you have 5,000 SKUs, figure it's going to probably be about 150 to 200 pages long. If for every 5,000 SKUs, add on to that. So 10,000 SKUs in your inventory, expect around 400 or 500 pages, and so on and so forth. So by sending it to Excel, you don't necessarily need to print it, but you've saved a copy of it that you can go back and refer to. So you just simply click on the Excel spreadsheet, it opens up Excel and drops everything in. And then I can save this wherever I want to save it in case I need it. Okay? That's going to give you a good way to compare the before and the after. So that's one of the main reasons why we recommend that you run this report before you start your physical inventory. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close my report. So now we've done our backup. We've run our on-hand report as of the morning or as of the moment we're about to start the physical. So now that we have all of the preliminary stuff done, we're ready to actually get into the physical. So to get into the physical inventory tool, you're going to go into Inventory up along the top and then down to Start Physical Inventory. That's going to open up this window, okay? Now this is a list of everything that you have in your inventory. You'll notice there is I'm going to add in a column here because I'm missing it. I like to see my description in there. There we go. That makes it a little bit easier for me to know what I'm looking at. Okay, so every item that you have in your inventory should be listed here, whether or not you have a quantity or not. Okay, the quantity that you're showing on hand as of the beginning of your physical is going to be found in this expected column. This is what the computer is expecting you to count. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you will count that, but that's what it's expecting you to count. Now, there are two ways of doing your physical, of getting those counts into this counted column. That's where those are going to go. So up here on the I want to, if you're using a scanner, you would go to I want to and then add counts from scanner, and you'd go through the download process. Now, during that download process, it may come back and tell you that it found some errors. okay, it will give you the opportunity to get a printout of those errors. And what most commonly causes a scanning error is if you've scanned the UPC code and that particular UPC code has not been entered into that line item's information, or you find an item on a deep, dark back shelf someplace and it has your QuickBooks sticker on it, but it's coming back as an error. That could have been an item that maybe you deleted out of your inventory because you didn't think you had anymore. But yet now during the physical, you find that long lost one that you didn't realize that you had. So those are probably the two most common reasons that you'll get a scanning error. Either the barcode that you scanned, it doesn't recognize, or the item has already been taken out of the inventory and is no longer on that SKU. So now if you're adding counts by hand, since I don't have a scanner hooked up to my computer, it's difficult for me to show you that, but I can show you the add counts by hand. So if I go to add counts by hand, literally I'm just going to type in my SKU, press enter, and then enter in my quantity and press enter. Now that should be on that item that you're looking at, okay? Now what a lot of people will do is they'll take that item list report that we printed before the physical and they'll use that as a guideline, that printout as a guideline for going around the store and counting how many you should have, okay? So anything that's going to help you get the item number and the quantity is a good thing, okay? And then you would just type in the next item, press enter, type in the quantity, press enter, and repeat this process over and over and over again. Once you're done, you're going to click on this Save button, and you'll notice that those two quantities entered into my counted column. Now, this item, I counted the same amount that the computer was expecting me to have. So there is no difference quantity. But you'll notice up on this item, it was expecting 5. I only counted 3, so the computer's letting me know there is a discrepancy of -2. Okay, we'll talk about discrepancies a little further down the line. Okay, someone has a question here. Oh, gee, let's see here. Okay, Karen, I'm trying to get your question open up so I can see it. Karen, I'm going to take you off mute, so if you could just ask me your question. Okay. Can you search by item name instead of item number? Good question. Okay. So if I come up here to I want to add counts by hand, I'm just going to type in here short sleeve, and you'll see that it only looks at the item number, UPC, or alternative lookup. So it's only going to look for a number unless you put numbers and letters into your alternate lookup. Okay, so unfortunately, it is only looking at the SKU number, the item number, or the UPC code. For those of you that use ALU, that's just an added way of looking it up. Okay. Now, Karen, what I would recommend for you, if you're used to looking things up by, I'm going to go ahead and save that. If you're used to looking things up by the description, what you could do is in that report that you run the item list and sort it. I don't have the right column on here yet, so bear with me. Okay. So what you could do is take this list and sort it by the description, and then you would also end up with the item number. Well, maybe not. I thought I had the item number on here. So if you do not have the item number on here, make sure you add it to your report by going into the Modify button up here at the top and make sure that you have that item number. So Karen, for you, this would bring all of the items together based on the description, but you'd be able to see the item number over here so you could key it in. Okay? I think if you go into the item list, and I may be mistaken, let's see. No, that's not going to help me. I was thinking that there might be a way to do a count sheet. You could do the same thing in your inventory. Okay, sorted either A to Z or Z to A. It's your choice. Okay, so I have quite a few different items in my inventory. So, okay, there we go. And then I could come up here and I could say, let me close this down real quick. Okay. Yeah, no, the inventories, I thought that there was going to be a count sheet that we could print out of here. So let me see here. Well, I don't believe style number. So Karen's second question was by the style number instead of the description. I don't believe it'll do it by style number either, but let's give it a test. So if I come up here to I want to and add counts by hand, if I type in style number 3449L and press enter, again, it's not going to let me do it by the style number or the description. It has to be one of the fields that we turn into a barcode. That would be the item number, the UPC, or the ALU. Now, that's if you want to manually enter it in like this. What you could do, Karen, is sort it by the style number or by the item description, and then you could manually type in the quantity here. So you don't even need to use the I want to button. You could just type in, once you found the group of items or the style you were looking for, you could manually type in those quantities, okay, into the counted column. Hopefully that helps out a little bit. Okay. Okay. So you're just going to repeat that process either with the scanner or by hand, or in some cases by manually typing in the SKU that you're looking for or the style number that you're looking for. And you're going to repeat that process over and over and over again. Now, remember the map that we talked about in the very beginning. As you finish out a section, make sure you mark that off on your map that it is complete. Okay, that's going to be how you keep track of what you've counted and what you haven't counted. Now, a lot of times what I will do in my prep is after I have my map drawn, after I've closed the doors for my customers, and I don't mind that I'm going to mess up my store a little bit, I'll take little neon colored Post-it notes and I will stick a Post-it note on that section that correlates to the section number I've given it on my map. So that way, if I'm pointing to if I'm telling a clerk, I need you to go over here to section 15, and I'm pointing to a certain area on the map, when that clerk gets over to that section, they see a little Post-it that says 15, and they know they're in the right spot. Now, when they're all done counting it, they can take that Post-it note off of there, and once you've downloaded it, a lot of times I will hand the clerk a different color Post-it. I tend to lean towards neon pink and neon green, but whatever colors work for you. And I will hand that clerk a neon green sticker to go put on that section, and I will cross it off on my map. Okay? That way, as I look at my map, and as I look around the store, those should map up. Those should match up. So if I see a green sticker on a section up in the upper left-hand corner of my store, but I don't show it marked off on my map, then that kind of lets me know that I need to mark it off on my map. I've missed a X out. Okay? So, and Karen, you are very welcome. Okay, so once everything has been counted and everything has that you're going to count has been counted, it's now time to deal with the discrepancies. So if you come up here to the I want to button, you will see that there is a run a report and there is a differences report. Now this difference report is going to show you, that did not give me what I was hoping to get, so let me close out of there. Okay, so let's see. So I can actually view everything that had a difference, and I guess I only put in one item that had a difference. So one more thing I do want to point out to you, when you're ready to look at your discrepancies, make sure you check this box over here. This box needs to be set when you're ready to update your physical, okay? So you'll notice that in the process of doing that, I created a lot more discrepancies in here, okay? That's because everything that I didn't count got a 0, which is the way that it should be, but that means that what the computer was expecting did not show up, okay, did not get counted, okay? Now, know that when you're doing your physical, you can save and continue as many times as you need to. So, let's say that you're working on it and you need to run to the restroom, or you just, you needed to go out and look something up in inventory, maybe print a tag for it. You could save and continue, close out of this, do what you need to do in the inventory, and then go back into the physical inventory right where you left off, okay? So if I tell it I want a report for all of my differences, now I get all of the items where the expected number doesn't match the counted number. And this is when you're going to spend some time going through and looking for those items, okay? Keep in mind, you do this at the very end once everything has been counted. Every drawer, every cabinet, the back room, everything has been counted. That includes items that you might have on customer orders that have not been picked up yet. Because keep in mind, the items that you order for customer orders are not taken out of your inventory until they pick them up or you ship them out. So those also need to be counted so they don't show up as a discrepancy. And this is when you're going to use your time to go through and see if you can't find some of the bigger discrepancies. So, I have lots of discrepancies in here that are 2s and 5s and what have you. But if I go further down my list, I have some much bigger discrepancies in here, okay? How do I misplace 20 of a given item? That usually a big number like this indicates that somebody missed a whole box or a whole section that particular item was in. So do a little bit of auditing at this point when you're all done, managers especially, get them involved and have them help you with the discrepancies and try to find the discrepancies that you can find. Now, if it helps, you can print this out and divvy it up amongst the staff members and say, okay, these are the discrepancies I want you to try to find, and same with the next person. So that way it's not as overwhelming for one person or a couple of people. You've got the whole staff working on it, okay? Now, if you find discrepancies, so I went out and this item, I found the box that item was in, and in that box there were 19 of them, okay? I put in the actual amount that I counted, even though it's still a discrepancy, it's not nearly as bad as it was just a moment ago, okay? So as you find discrepancies, you can fill in the quantity that you found. Okay. So once you have this list, this counted list, at the point that you can live with it, You know, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have any discrepancies. But realistically, that very rarely happens. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and I can only count on one hand the time that my discrepancies were less than $1,000. Doesn't happen very often, okay? So once you have it at a point that you can live with it and you're accepting of it, you'll notice that down here, it shows you what your difference is in price and in cost. You're really trying to get your inventory quantities. You want that difference in cost to be no more than 2% of your total inventory cost. Now you may wonder, well, how do I know what my total inventory cost is? Well, in that case, we come up here to I want to, we run a report, and we tell it, give us the detailed report. Okay. Oh, I went to the previous instead of the new one. Okay. There we go. So this is going to show me the difference in cost. If I go all the way down to the end, it's going to show me that difference in cost. This is not the report I thought it was. So, okay. Okay, so Karen, for you, maybe the way that you'd want to do this is once you get in here, come up here to the print and do the worksheet for the current item view. And you'll notice that it gives you the style number, but it also gives you a place to write in your count. And you'd have the item number, so when they brought back the sheet, you could use this number and just key it in. So that might be a good way for you to do yours. Okay? So again, if you wanted to know what your total cost of inventory was, that on-hand report that we ran before we did the physical is going to give you a total cost of goods. If this difference in cost is 2% or less, most people would consider that about average. 2% discrepancy is about normal. Anything lower than that, even better. Anything higher than that, you may want to spend a little bit more time looking for discrepancies. Okay? Now, once you've got the discrepancies to the point that you're going to live with them, you're now ready to actually update your physical. Again, double check and make sure that this is set for all items not counted to 0. So if you didn't count them, it should be because you don't have them to count. And if you don't have them to count, I need that to be a 0. Just like you see a lot of these are coming up as 0. Okay? They should be changed to 0 to properly show what quantity you have. Otherwise, if I don't check that, what's going to happen is the system is going to leave this item alone. It's not going to change it at all. And it's going to show I still have 10 on hand. But I don't have any on hand, otherwise I would have counted them. So that's why this is so important to check off before you're ready to do the update. Okay? So when you are done and you're ready to call it a day, you can then apply your changes to inventory. This is the final step. This is what's going to take these counted numbers and update your inventory. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click on Apply Changes to Inventory, and it tells me that it is going to update my inventory for all of my items, not just the ones I counted, but for everything. And it's letting me know it will create an adjustment memo for those things that didn't match up. Okay? And then I would normally click Yes here. Now I'm going to click No. If you want a printout before you update, you can print out this detail report. And that's going to show you every single item, what you expected, what you counted, and what the difference is. Okay? Now, once you apply your changes to inventory, I do recommend that you go in and you run another on-hand report showing what your new on-hand quantity, cost, and price is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes here. and it made one adjustment memo because I only have about 100 items in my inventory. Okay. Now, it does ask you if you want to run a report showing the changes applied to inventory. I'm going to go ahead and do the detail report and run it. It's entirely up to you if you want to run it or skip it. Okay. But this is going to show you everything that you counted, even the things that were zero. So the items like these down here, the beginning or expected quantity was 0. I didn't count any, so there was no difference there. Okay. This also shows me, if I go to the very last page, this also shows me the total difference in my cost again. So I know what kind of shrinkage I've actually have. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and exit this. Now you'll notice a lot of my quantities have disappeared, but that 19 I put in showed up. The 20 I put in showed up. So the ones where I physically counted the items, those quantities are now showing in my inventory. If I go in and I run a report, my item value is going to be different than it was when I ran it before the physical. So I get all the way down to the bottom, okay? So my extended cost now, because I got rid of all of those quantities, has gone down from what it was before, okay? So that is the physical inventory in a nutshell. Any questions that I can answer for you? Anyone at all? Okay. Ron, I'm trying to get to your question, Ron. Oh. So, let's see. Wrong one. Okay, so I'm having a problem opening up the question pane. So let me take everyone off of mute, and I'll take your questions one at a time. So Ron, you were the first one to raise your hand. What can I help you with? Oh, for whatever reason. Okay, Ron, go ahead and ask your question. Ron, did you have a question, Ron? Sally, you had also raised your hand. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Like I said, you will be receiving an email with a link to this recorded webinar. You're welcome to watch it and re-watch it as many times as you feel is necessary. Know that we do have tech support available 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and that's Pacific time. That's Pacific time. We also have tech support available on Saturday, 9 to 5 Pacific time, and 9 to 2 on Sunday Pacific time. Those time frames fall under your service contract. So if you call during those times, make sure if you get the receptionist that you let her know that you are in the middle of your physical, and she will get you right on with a tech. If you call on the weekends, we don't have a receptionist that's answering the phones, so you may get voicemail. And if you get voicemail, follow the promptings for the down call, because that's what we consider it to be when you're in the middle of your physical inventory. Okay? So follow the prompts for the down call, and the technicians that are working on the weekend will see that a down call has come in, and they will get off the call they're on and get back to you as soon as they possibly can. Okay? Again, thank you so much for joining me today on our QuickBooks Point of Sale Physical Inventory webinar. And feel free to sign up for any other webinar that piques your interest. We do list all of our agendas on our website under the training option in the tech portal area. So go in and look at those, and you'll see a list of all of the upcoming QuickBooks Point of Sale webinars. You're welcome to join as many of those as you'd like. Again, thank you for your time, and everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.